Hello, everybody, and welcome to our last lecture. We will hopefully get together this Friday to share book reports. I'd love all of you to get to learn from each other about these books because they can be good resources to each of you. So if you can make it on Friday to the lab, just plan on presenting then. If you can't make it to the lab on Friday, if you could please send the video of you presenting before the lab, so by 11 a.m., then I will share it on the lab or during the lab, and then everybody can watch it and learn from each other. And those videos, they can kind of be as long as you feel like you need in order to cover everything and to share your insights and all the things that are kind of in the syllabus that need to be included in that presentation. I'm thinking, I don't know, 10 minutes would probably be sufficient. If it goes a little over or a little under, that's okay. Anyway, I look forward to hearing what you all have learned in those books and what you want to share with each other. So today we are talking about relationship education again, and I will go ahead and share my screen. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is next week there won't be any readings and there won't be a lecture. However, we can do one like study session lab if you would like. That's of course something you guys can set up among yourselves as well. So next week is the last week of classes, and I will just let you guys spend the week reviewing. If there's anything particular that I want you to remember as I put together that final exam, I will give you a sheet to study by for that. Anyway, yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so relationship education again. And today we will be talking about couple cares for parents. So last week we talked about couple cares a little bit. This week you read more about the couple cares because last week we talked about it in lecture, but you hadn't read yet. We'll also be talking a little bit about a couple of other parenting programs, Love and Logic. Let's see if you guys can. The background's going to cut it out, but this is my Love and Logic manual. I might have to turn off the background so that you can see that. And then Love Limits Latitude. And then Focus on the Family and just other websites that are good sources of education for you, but also if you are familiar with them and have them as resources, they can be something you can offer to clients or to people that you are working with, or even just friends and family. So last week we went over prep and pairs and couple care. And then again, this is what we're going over. So also as a recap from last week, and I added in also the home study led components because this is a big part of couple cares for parents is the home study. The Love and Logic is something that is taught more like pairs where you have weekly classes, or prep can be like that too. Prep is often taught as a one time or like one weekend lecture series with the different modules, but the Love and Logic can be taught like once a week over a number of weeks or something like that. With e-prep and with couple cares for parents, there's definitely a home study component. So again, like I said last time, these are developed to serve a broader audience. They won't be addressing specific problems. They will be addressing mostly couples who are doing okay or have some minor distress. If there's major distress in parenting, we recommend something more than a relationship education program. Also, in these, like with Love and Logic, the educators are trained in the program. Same with the Couple Cares for Parents, the CCP. Love Limits Latitude, I actually don't know how that one is taught, whether it is just a manual that is given to parents or whether there is actual training. And then the websites, of course, are completely home study, learn at your own pace, kind of go for whatever information is most important for you. Um, some of these, again, like Love and Logic has and the Couple Cares for Parents have these pre-planned structure with modules. And of course, they address those areas of common concern. So, Couple Cares for Parents. This was developed by Jemima Petch. I love that name. It's, I think, an Australian name. I mean, we used to have that name here in the United States, but I don't think that's been around for a long time. So you see Jemima Petch there on top. And she did this and researched it and kind of compiled it as part of her dissertation. And of course, worked with Kim Halford, who we learned about last week in conjunction with Couple Care, just for couples. So Couple Cares is set up in 6 kind of sessions or units. The first 3 are done in a group setting, or the last one is actually with a coach. Or I guess the last 2 are the second and third are like at home, but with a coach. The first one is the group setting. And they cover topics like expectations about what is it going to be like to have a child, and what are our expectations of each other as parents, communication conflict management, self-directed change, meaning that couples and parents can decide what they need to focus on. Adjusting to parenthood, it is an adjustment, very much. Caring, affection, and sexuality as parents. Um, that is all an adjustment with with having kids too. Mutual support and balance. So kind of finding couples roles and being able to have some flexibility as well as structure within those roles, and adapting to change. The learning strategies um, draw from that experiential learning model, and also the sense that we need to be able to assess how much people are getting helped by this program. So there's pre and post tests. Then there is that experiential part, where you learn a principle, you try it out, you fail, you try it, you kind of incorporate new ideas and understandings, and then try it again. So that experiential kind of cycle. Part of that is the self-reflection. As you try and fail, you reflect on what didn't go so well. You can also do self-reflection at the beginning, in terms of what do I notice I need to learn about? What do I notice is not going very well? How do I notice that? How does it feel? So some of that self-reflection, that's part of that experiential cycle. There's also homework, which kind of reinforces the experiences. We want people to be able to take what they learn in the module and apply it, and kind of generalize it to other skills and to their normal life. And then there's also a kind of sense of social support. So they might have like a group of parents that all had kids at the same time, and they can get together and talk about what's going well and what's hard. And that sense of I'm not in this alone can be really valuable for parents. So you can see to the left here, this is actually from Jemima Petch's dissertation, the various units and how they're delivered, and what is included in the unit and how it's taught. Okay, parenting with love and logic. So, parenting with love and logic was developed by Foster Klein and Jim Fay. I don't have pictures of them. I could have found pictures. It's in, I think it's third iteration. Yeah, third edition right now. When I did Love and Logic as a new parent about, I don't know, 18 years ago, it was, I think, first edition. Okay, I'm going to turn off my background really quickly. So, fair warning, I'm in my laundry room. let's see here. That way you'll be able to see. Okay. So this is the Love and Logic book. You know what? I'm going to actually stop the share for a minute so that you can see this better. Okay, so this is the Love and Logic book that I picked up when I was a young parent 18 years ago. And you can see my husband and I did this together. These were his drawings of our two facilitators. And you can see there Jim Fay, Foster Klein. Oh, and they had Charles Fay also helped with that. So this basically takes you through principles, the workbook. Well, there's a lot of a lot of handouts, as you can see also, that we picked up through this and wrote on. And then there's different modules. So, and you can see our notes too. So started off with raising responsible kids. And then you just kind of go through that module. Module 2, Love and Logic formula. The formula. How to be a cool parent. Can you tell this is early 2000s? So cool stands for control, ownership of the problem, opportunity for thinking, and then let empathy and consequences do the teaching. So Love and Logic is not my favorite parenting program. I think it has some good ideas and it's close to there, but it's very, as you saw, formulaic. It's like the child does this, you say this, the child does this, you say this. And while I think it's good to let the kids have decisions and experience logical or natural consequences, and also it says, you need to be loving and compassionate, but the loving and compassionate sometimes gets lost with Love and Logic parents, I've noticed. It can become a little bit more, I don't know, it sometimes feels a little bit coercive to me. I'm going to share my screen again. So they talk about, you guys know about the different parenting styles. Authoritarian, which is they talk about drill sergeant. Authoritative, which is the consultant, they say that's how to be. And permissive, which is like the helicopter, like just there to do everything for the child. So they do suggest authoritative parenting, which is the consultant parent. And they do talk about letting kids have different choices. So for example, a Love and Logic strategy would be, if a child is crying and says, I don't want to go to bed, I don't want to go to bed, you might say to the child, would you like to go to bed now, or would you like to go to bed in 2 minutes? And then, so you choose options that are both acceptable to the parents, and then you let the child choose between those options. And of course, the kid is going to say in 2 minutes, and then you might have the same fight in 2 minutes, but you get to say, well, you made that choice. There's this sense of ask kids to choose as many times as possible, even when you completely know what their choice is going to be. Like, would you like to turn it off in 5 minutes or now? Would you like to have one dessert or no desserts? Would you like to have, I don't know, a trip to see your friend, or would you like to stay home and read a book? Well, for some kids, maybe that's not going to be obvious. Maybe some kids would rather read a book and some kids would rather take a trip to their friend. But as the parent, you're probably going to know. So it's going to be obvious. But the idea is that the more you ask the kid, then when it's something that you as a parent need to make the decision about, you can say, well, let you make a lot of decisions, but this is a decision I need to make. So there's definitely some good pieces of this. It does feel a little, like I said, formulaic. However, if you have a parent who is very coercive and controlling and very authoritarian, this is going to be a step in the right direction. And so you might recommend Parenting with Love and Logic as a class that they could take. Maybe you want to teach it. Then the next parenting one is Love Limits and Latitude. And this was developed, David Law, actually, you've hopefully read those articles from the Ensign on Love Limits and Latitude. There's a couple of articles, one published back in 2008 and one published in 2020. And this book has been around for a while. This is in its second edition. And this one kind of has similar ideas as Love and Logic, but it takes in the component, which I appreciate, of attachment. Like, surprise, we need to have positive emotional relationships with our kids and not just kind of behavioral them into doing what we want. So Love Limits Latitude does talk about latitude as in like giving kids options, respecting their agency, respecting their individuality. Every kid is different, and different kids need to be parented in somewhat different ways, and also at different times of their life. So a young child is not going to um, need the same amount of latitude as a teenager. Um, but hopefully by the time they're a teenager, they've learned good principles and you've given appropriate limits such that they can have that broader latitude to make decisions and still be safe. So encourages people or parents to be informed about what is developmentally and culturally appropriate, and allowing kids to take responsibility. That giving kids a sense of responsibility from a young age for themselves, for their choices, but also for things around the house can be really empowering for kids. A story about having parents give latitude and taking into account some of the cultural things. Now, this doesn't mean cultural like immoral, but I had a family come in at one point that had a child, and the mom was really, really concerned about this child. Was kind of devastated that this child had made the choices that they had, and wanted me to fix this child. That happens a lot, that they want you to fix the child. And you all know from systems theory, we're going to look at the whole system. So I was curious about what was going on. And the mom described that this terrible decision that she was so distraught about was that the daughter had installed Instagram on her phone. And I thought, culturally, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense for that to be devastating. Now, maybe there's a rule because maybe an older sibling got on Instagram and there was some bad stuff that they came across, and so we say we're not doing Instagram. Okay, that's fine. But to treat the child as if they'd done something immoral because they downloaded Instagram didn't make a lot of sense to me, and didn't make a lot of sense in the cultural context. So my role in that situation was to talk to the daughter about why she had downloaded Instagram. And it was because she really, really wanted to be in touch with her friends, and they were all on Instagram, and she felt isolated. And so then we kind of pointed out to the mom, this isn't about your daughter wanting to be rebellious um, or being a bad kid or doing something immoral. This is her wanting connection. And so if you don't want it to be Instagram, what's it going to be? Maybe you can have friends over more often, or this was pre-COVID. Anyway, so yeah, having the parent be somewhat culturally informed so that they're not horrified by something that is actually maybe culturally appropriate and socially appropriate for the child. Limits. So the limits that are encouraged here are things that keep the child safe, both physically and emotionally and spiritually. Obviously, because this was from an Ensign article, this is a very church friendly program. It was created by members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Um, so there are definitely those spiritual and religious components here. So be clear and firm about rules and expectations and explain. So it's not because I said so or because I told you so, but this is what I worry about. Um, I'm telling you not to browse YouTube indiscriminately because there are things you might come across that could be emotionally damaging. Or, um, you know, I am telling you about pornography and we're going to practice not looking at pornography or what to do when you come across pornography, because every kid at some point is going to come across something that is distressing to them. So when you do, here's how you can what you can do about it. And instead of shaming, there is empowering. Talks about avoiding coercion or permissiveness, um, explaining to kids why the rules are what they are. And then you set limits, but you also follow up when there's a limit set. And one of the things I like about this, it says it's in as gentle a way as will be effective. So, we talk about natural consequences, which is what happens if the parent does nothing. If a kid comes across pornography on their own or from a friend, a natural consequence might be feeling kind of icky. It might be discomfort. It might be shame. It might be fearfulness. Those are natural consequences. The parent does nothing to make those happen. Natural consequence of not wearing a coat to school is you might get cold. Um, Logical consequences are ones, and you guys maybe know all about these from your previous classes, but I'll explain it briefly. Logical consequences are ones that seem appropriately tied to the rule and to maybe an infraction of the rule. So if the rule is, um, you know, we want you to use the internet safely, and a kid maybe gets on when they're not supposed to, or looks at things that are not healthy, then a logical consequence might be you lost the internet for the rest of the day. Or maybe if it's a pattern, I'm going to install something on your computer so that I can see what you've done all the time, something like that. Maybe that seems a little controlling, but depends on how the parent uses it. And the idea, of course, is that you want to be encouraging to the kids. You do want them to have responsibility. You do want them to make good decisions. You do want them to feel both empowered to make choices and that there's a safe structure that they're given so that the choices they make aren't going to ruin their lives. Um, and then in order to encourage the behavior you want, you notice it and appreciate it, maybe praise it. Um, that was something that my dad did whenever he heard something good about us kids. He would repeat it at the dinner table. And it was sometimes a little embarrassing because, I don't know, I was sometimes embarrassed by praise, but it also reinforced I want to be the type of person who good things are said about and good things are noticed about. And then, like I said, this program does incorporate the idea of attachment, which they talk about under love, that we need to cultivate emotional connection. Like, this isn't all just about what to do to get your kids to do what you want them to do. This is about loving your kid as a person and respecting them and delighting in them. And so this program talks about spending quality time with your kids and just doing stuff together, um, showing unconditional love. They make a mistake. Guess what? You still love them. If you can not get angry, that would be great. If you do get angry, model apologizing. Like, it's okay for parents to make mistakes, and it's great for parents to acknowledge the mistake and apologize for it. Because when that happens, kids see, you know what, it's okay to make a mistake. They also can feel better. Maybe the parent got mad and the kid felt really, really, really bad. But if the parent apologizes, maybe the kid can feel a little bit of relief. Um, this goes back to that saying I shared with you guys. What matters most is not what you do, it's what you do after what you did. So if you make a mistake as a parent and yell or get too angry or give a harsh consequence, going back afterwards and saying, I overreacted, I let my fear guide, or I let my anger guide, and I didn't parent you the way you deserved, and I didn't parent you the way I wanted to, and I apologize, and giving them a hug can mean a lot. Um, Focusing more on effort than on outcome. So we're not just praising outcomes, we're not just praising the A's, we're praising you really are diligent about getting your schoolwork done. I noticed that it's frustrating for you in this class, but how much time and attention you're putting into understanding it, or whatever it is. Um, so that all along the way, it's iteratively acknowledged and praised. And um, sometimes the outcome that the kid wants is there, and some, and maybe the parent wants, and sometimes it's not there. But if the kid feels seen and acknowledged and valued all along the way, that's really powerful. So love limits latitude, that is, of the two, more of my favorite. Then last, online learning. So there's a lot of websites that are good online learning tools, as you all well know. One that I would encourage you, I had it on the reading list and I might have taken it back off the reading list because there was a lot of readings for this week. But there was one, Focus on the Family. A Focus on the Family has some very conservative Christian values. And so they have sections on marriage and on parenting that, maybe are appropriate for some clients and maybe not for others. Kind of have to tailor things. I yeah, I have to remember to tailor what's appropriate. Some people that you'll see aren't members of the church at all, and so having something that is more spiritually focused is not really for them. Or some are already doing a bunch of skills really well and need something more fine-tuned, or some are really struggling and need something like Love and Logic. Anyway, finding resources online that you like and becoming acquainted with those resources is great. So let's see here. This is one of my favorite to recommend websites, Therapy in a Nutshell. It's on YouTube. And this is a marriage and family therapist who just does little short videos about therapeutic topics that can be helpful for people to review or to read through. So let's see here. It looks like these are getting some into not therapy in a nutshell. Anyway, she talks a lot about anxiety. She talks about psychophysiology. She talks about depression. She talks about emotion. There's a lot of great things. So this is a fun resource for you as a person, also for anybody that you work with or for friends. Let's see here. Another of my favorite recommendations is, okay, right here. It's not about the nail. I'm going to have you guys watch this with me right now. It's a fun little video, teaches about validation, and it makes people laugh. Yeah. Actually, I'm not sure I'll have you watch the whole thing.
There's all this pressure, and sometimes it feels like it's right up on me, and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. But you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there.
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing.
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
Okay, so that's a fun one. And here is another one, TED Talks. TED actually stands for Technology, Engineering, and Design, but it's just great ideas that are worth spreading. And this is a fun one to share with people also. It's kind of more on the educational side, but it's about positive psychology. And I won't share all of it with you because of YouTube copyrights, but maybe I could share a little bit.
When I was 7 years old and my sister was just 5 years old, we were playing on top of a bunk bed. I was 2 years older than my sister at the time. I mean, I'm 2 years older than her now, but at the time that meant she had to do everything that I wanted to do, and I wanted to play war. So we were up on top of our bunk beds, and on one side of the bunk bed, I had put out all my G.I. Joe soldiers and weaponry, and on the other side were all my sister's Milos and ponies and ready for a cavalry charge. There are differing accounts of what actually happened that afternoon, but since my sister is not here with us today, let me tell you the true story. Which is my sister is a little bit on the clumsy side, and somehow, without any help or push from her older brother at all, suddenly Amy disappeared off the top of the bunk bed and landed with this crash on the floor. And I nervously peered over the side of the bed to see what had befallen my fallen sister, and saw that she had landed painfully on her hands and knees on all fours on the ground. I was nervous because my parents had charged me with making sure that my sister and I played as safely and as quietly as possible. And seeing as how I had accidentally broken Amy's arm just 1 week before, heroically pushing her out of the way of an oncoming imaginary sniper bullet, for which I have yet to be thanked. I was trying as hard as I could. She didn't even see it coming. I was trying as hard as I could to be on my best behavior, and I saw my sister's face this wail of pain and suffering and surprise, threatening to erupt from her mouth and threatening to wake my parents from the long winter's nap for which they had settled. So I did the only thing my little frantic 7-year-old brain could think to do to avert this tragedy. If you have children, you've seen this hundreds of times before. I said, Amy, wait, don't cry, don't cry. Did you see how you landed? No human lands on all fours like that. Amy, I think this means you're a unicorn. Now that was cheating, because there's nothing in the world my sister would want more than not to be Amy, the hurt 5-year-old little sister, but Amy, the special unicorn. Of course, this was an option that was open to her brain at no point in the past. And you could see on my poor, manipulated sister's face conflict, as her little brain attempted to devote resources to feeling the pain and suffering, surprise she just experienced, or contemplating her newfound identity as a unicorn. And the latter won out. Instead of crying, instead of ceasing our play, instead of waking my parents with all the negative consequences that would have ensued for me, instead, a smile spread across her face, and she scrambled right back up onto the bunk bed with all the grace of a baby unicorn, with one broken leg. What we stumbled across at this tender age of just 5 and 7, we had no idea at the time, was something that was going to be at the vanguard of a scientific revolution occurring 2 decades later in the way that we look at the human brain. What we had stumbled across is something called positive psychology, which is the reason that I'm here today and the reason that I wake up every morning. When I first started talking about this research outside of academia, out with companies and schools, the very first thing they said to never do is to start your talk with a graph. The very first thing I wanted to do is start my talk with a graph. This graph looks boring, but this graph is the reason that I get excited and wake up every morning. And this graph doesn't even mean anything. It's fake data. What we found is if I got this data back studying you here in the room, I would be thrilled, because there's very clearly a trend that's going on there, and that means that I can get published, which is all that really matters. The fact that there's one weird red dot that's up above the curve, there's one weird in the room, you know who you are, I saw you earlier. That's no problem. That's no problem, as most of you know, because I can just delete that dot. I can delete that dot because that's clearly a measurement error, and we know that's a measurement error because it's messing up my data. So one of the very first things that we teach people in economics and statistics and business and psychology courses is how, in a statistically valid way, do we eliminate the weirdos? How do we eliminate the outliers? So that we can find the line of best fit, which is fantastic if I'm trying to find out how many Advil the average person should be taking, too. But if I'm interested in potential, if I'm interested in your potential or for happiness or productivity or energy or creativity, what we're doing is we're creating the cult of the average with science. If I ask
Okay, so that's a really great one, and I recommend watching that also. Okay, so lots of great online resources, of course. I hope you can look into some more. I hope you found some. Keep maybe, or I recommend keeping a database or somewhere that you keep all those resources with links together so that, say you're treating somebody with a specific thing, you can recommend something. Okay, let's go back to our PowerPoint. The last thing is reflection questions. Last week there wasn't a digital dialogue due. This Friday it's due for both of the weeks, and there was a reflection question last week, and then this week the reflection question is kind of about education, relationship education, and also about the education for this course. So the questions are just, what are some teaching and learning strategies that have been most helpful or effective for you? And that can be in either a formal like classroom setting, or it could be in an informal setting. Like, how do you learn? What's the best way for you personally to learn? And that's different for lots of different people. And then last, and this is helpful for me as I am planning classes and want to make this class better and better, what was helpful for you and your learning in this class, and what was maybe less helpful or it could have been improved. One of the things for me was I would have loved to meet together in person. That would have been fabulous. I would have loved to see your faces and hear your comments as we went along, and had you all get to interact a little bit more. I really appreciated on your digital dialogue how you guys interacted with each other. I had stipulated that you each write 2 responses, but one of the things that I noticed again and again is that you guys made sure each comment had 2 responses. Like, everybody could have commented on one, but instead you were very egalitarian about responding to each other's posts and letting each other be seen and heard and feel like part of the group. And I really appreciated that. Anyway, I hope that there have been some good things that you've taken away from the course. And if you have questions, concerns, anything like that, please let me know. Just reach out. I've heard of people getting accepted into programs this semester that you're excited about, kind of getting a sense of the direction that you want to go next, and that's wonderful. I hope that learning these models and learning about assessment and about relationship education has given you something to take away with you into your life, however you use it. Anyway, it's been a pleasure, and I will look forward to seeing you all on Friday, or as many of you as we can on Friday, for the lab and book reports. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, let me know. Thanks.